Hello, everyone. I can see we're still having quite a few people join us. So welcome to those of you who have signed up and are joining us for this webinar today. So today's webinar is on how to use the new Trove interface to search newspapers. My name is Aileen, and I'm a member of the Trove team. Before we get into the substance of the presentation, I'd like to begin by acknowledging the Australian Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples of this nation. We acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land and pay our respects to ancestors and elders, past and present. Now, a few logistics before we begin. Some parts of the presentation have been pre-recorded, but several members of the Trove team are online today, and there will be an opportunity at the end to respond to questions in a live Q&A. I'll talk more about that shortly. Today's session will focus on newspapers and cover both basic and advanced search, including searching across multiple titles or jurisdictions. And we'll also highlight where you can find general information about newspapers on the new site. Although the content and overall functionality in new Trove has not changed, we do appreciate that the interface has been substantially redesigned. Some of the search methods you were familiar with may work a bit differently. Today, we will take you through the different ways you can search and also outline some of the features of the results list. As with any new system, we have encountered a number of issues since Trove was released a few weeks ago that are not working quite as expected. A few of these have already been fixed, and others will be addressed in upcoming releases. Some of the bugs we're aware of that affect newspapers include date range searches not always returning expected results, phrase searching not returning highlighted text in the search result, and some of the design features, such as choice of font and size of buttons, are interfering with visibility when text correcting. Thank you to those of you online today who have alerted us to the issues that you have noticed, and be assured that we're progressively working through them. So today, we would like to highlight some of Trove's new features, and I will now hand over to my colleague, Paul, who will take you through the basic search.
Thanks, Aileen. Hi, I'm Paul, and today I'm a member of the Trove development team, and I'll be demonstrating basic search and navigating search results. So if we start at the Trove homepage, and let's start with the basic search. So I'll enter in my search term, in this case, Sydney Harbour Bridge, and hit the green search button. And I get taken to a page of all results. So this provides a great overview of all the content that's within Trove. And we show the top three search terms or search results for each category. So here you can see the top three results for newspapers and gazettes. If I scroll down the page, I'll get the top three results for magazines and newsletters. Let's go back up to the newspapers section. From here, there's two methods for getting more newspaper results. I can either click on the newspapers and gazettes category heading at the top of this page, or I can click on the See All Newspapers and Gazettes green button beneath the three search results. Or, alternatively, you can take a shortcut directly from the Trove homepage by carrying out a search, again, in this case, Sydney Harbour Bridge, and in the All Categories drop-down, selecting Newspapers and Gazettes. And once again, click Search, and now I get taken to a dedicated results page for newspapers and gazettes. Now, this is made up of various sections. So at the top of the page, we have a search section where you can refine your search. We've got in green the main results list. We've got options to sort by these results. And we've also got an area where you can refine your results. So I'm really going to focus on the results list. So let's dive into a detail of a results. So this is the components that make up a result. We start with the title of the article. Now, a nice little tip with this is if it's blue, it means you haven't read the article. If it's purple, it means you've read the article. We also display a thumbnail image. So in the broader Trove, having a thumbnail generally indicates that an item's been digitised and is available online. It's not supposed to be something that you can read, but with so many newspapers in Trove, this thumbnail image provides a really good reference for illustrations, front pages, and the type of content that a newspaper page might have. The next important section is the category. So articles within newspapers typically include regular news items, advertising, illustrated articles such as photographs or perhaps cartoons, as well as birth, deaths and marriages. And this indicates the category that the article belongs to. So it'll give you an idea of the content and the context of the article that you've searched for. Then we have the newspaper title and the date that the article appeared, as well as the page number within that issue of the newspaper. Then we have a summary text snippet. So the summary is generated from the scanned and often corrected text from a newspaper article. It provides a brief overview of the article text with a search term highlighted in context. As this is one of the primary things a search is based on, any text corrections that are made help to improve the accuracy of this search. Then we have an indicator of the length of the article, and this gives you an idea of whether it's just a short summary or a full-length article. Final component of a result is the correction details. So if there's been any text corrections made, there'll be an indicator here. Now, this is quite important, so I'll go into a few more details on identifying corrections. So if a result has no corrections, this means free to correct. If an article has been corrected, it will show the number of people that have corrected the article. It won't show you who has corrected the article, just how many people have corrected it. So now, if you know that you have previously corrected an article, but you aren't logged into Trove, it will only show the number of people that have corrected the article. So in this case, it's still showing corrected by 2 voluntroves. Finally, if you are logged in and you have previously corrected an article, this will change to show that you have corrected the article, as well as the number of other people that may have corrected it as well. So if you regularly correct articles, making sure you are logged in will really help in seeing which articles you've already corrected. The next webinar on 29th of July will cover how to log in and the options available to you for how you appear within Trove. The final thing I want to discuss is the ability to sort your results. By default, the most relevant searches appear at the start of the list, but you might want to find the earliest occurrence of your search term or be correcting a particular topic in chronological order. By clicking the drop-down, you can sort by relevance or by date, with either the earliest articles first or the most recent articles first. I'm now going to pass on to Nikki, who can talk in a bit more detail about how to get the most out of your search.
Thank you, Paul. Hello, my name's Nikki, and I'm going to take you through some examples using advanced search. Advanced search is the best place to start for looking for newspapers across multiple states and or newspaper titles, or if you have a more complex search with several parameters. There are a couple of ways for you to access the advanced search. You can go straight to the advanced search screen to start your search, or navigate there from a simple search. To access the advanced search screen to start your search, you will start at the Trove homepage by clicking on the Trove logo at the top of the screen. Then you can select from the advanced search drop-down menu a category. In this example, we're going to select newspapers and gazettes. From here, you'll be taken to a blank advanced search screen to start your search. Alternatively, to navigate to the advanced search screen from a simple search, you will again start your simple search at the Trove homepage by selecting the Trove logo at the top of the screen. You will begin in your search box, you can enter your search term. In this example, I'm going to use the search term Stewart Highway. And then you can select the search box to execute your search. From the results screen, you can select the advanced search drop-down menu and select your category. In this example, newspapers and gazettes. Once on the advanced search screen, you will need to enter the keyword search terms in one or more of the 4 keyword filters at the top of the page. If you have gone directly to the advanced search screen and you are starting your search from here, you will need to add keywords to the keyword filter option. If you have navigated from a simple search as we have, your search term will be populated into the All of These Words field. You can add further keywords or change keywords in the filter options to modify your search. The keyword filters are all of these words, which will get results containing every word, any of these words, which will get results containing one or more words, the phrase, which will get results containing the words together as a phrase, without these words, which will not get results containing one or more words. I will now show you how to search newspapers across multiple states. In the advanced search, you can use titles and places to select multiple states to include in your search. To search for multiple states, start typing a state in the titles and places field. The first example we're going to use is South Australia. As you start typing, the state name will appear in the drop-down list. When a full state name appears, it is highlighted green and its publication titles also appear alphabetically underneath and they can be scrolled through. When the state is highlighted green, you can either press enter or click on the selection to add the filter to your search screen. And they'll be added as a green tag. You can repeat this process for multiple states. The next example we're going to use is Northern Territory. So you can start typing, and when it's selected green, you can then select it either by pressing enter or selecting it. You can then select other filters, so we can select newspapers. And then when we're ready, we can go to the search function button and press the search button to execute the search. Once on the results screen, you'll be able to see all your filters at the top of the screen. You can move back to the advanced search screen by selecting Show Filters. And you can clear all your filters by clicking the Clear button. I'm now going to show you how to search multiple newspaper titles. So we will add our search term. In this example, we're going to use Phillip Island. And then we're going to add newspaper titles to the titles and places. So in this example, we're going to add the age. And you will notice as you type in, the newspaper titles will be listed by state. And then we can select the newspaper titles. And then we can add more newspaper titles by doing the same thing. In this case, we're going to select the Argus. We can also search by searching the state for particular newspaper titles. So we can add more Victorian newspapers by searching for Victoria and then adding more titles. We can then add other filters such as newspaper. And in this example, we'll also add article category, article. And then again, we can press the green search button to execute our search. And again, all of our filters are at the top of the screen. From the results screen, we can further refine our results by selecting the filters from the menu on the right side of the lists. We can expand the filter lists by selecting the Show More button. And then we can select a filter by selecting the tick box. In this example, we will select 1910 to 1919. You will notice in the date range, because we've selected that decade, the individual years have now come up. So we can also select individual years. In this example, we'll select 1918. You will notice that these additional filters have now been added to the filters at the top of the screen. If we want to broaden our searches again, we can actually remove these filters by either selecting the tick box again or by selecting the X next to the filter. We can also clear all the filters by selecting the Clear All. And that will return us to our initial search, Phillip Island. I'm now going to hand over to Mel, who will cover combining advanced and simple search filters in a bit more detail.
My name's Mel, and today I'm going to show you how to tell which search filters you may have applied to your search to limit or narrow down your search results. So first we're going to look at an example of a simple search using the simple refine your results filters that Nikki's just shown you. So in this case, I'm going to enter a keyword into the search results, into the simple search bar, and select the category to search within from the drop-down. In this case, I'm going to select newspapers and gazettes. I'm going to click on the green search button to run my simple search, and I'm going to wait for my search results to display. Then I'm going to use the refine your results filters that appear here on the right-hand side of the search results to limit my search to newspapers, and again to limit my results even further to newspapers published in New South Wales. Now, as I select the simple filters, you'll see that the checkbox next to the filter name is ticked and turns blue, and also that a blue button appears up under the search bar at the top to indicate which search filters have just been applied to your search results. So we've just done a search for newspaper articles published in New South Wales that contain the word Kelly. And remember, as Nikki showed us earlier, in the same way as in Trove Classic, you can actually only choose one filter within a single heading when using these simple search filters. And you can deselect a filter by unticking the checkbox next to the filter name. Or by selecting the X on the newspaper search filter under the search bar. So now I'm going to show you another way of doing exactly the same search actually, but this time using advanced search filters and simple search filters in combination. So I'm going to go to my advanced search screen to run my advanced search. I'm going to enter the keyword Kelly in the all of these words field, and I'm going to select the category to search within from the type field just down here. And in this case, I'm going to select the same filter of newspaper. And then I'm going to click the green search button to run my search and wait for my search results to display. Then, as I did previously, I'm going to use the simple refine your results filters that appear on the right-hand side of the search results to further limit my search to only those newspapers published in New South Wales. And you can now see that there are both blue and green buttons that appear under the search bar to indicate which filters are currently applied. The blue buttons indicate which simple refine your results filters are applied, and the green buttons indicate which advanced search filters are currently applied. And as Nikki showed us before, you can deselect a filter by clicking the X for that filter button or using the clear all option to remove all filters from your search. So to sum up, you can tell which filters are currently applied to your search in a few different ways. You can look at the blue and green filter buttons that appear under the search bar at the top of the search results, or you can look at which simple filters are ticked here under the Refine Your Research Filters list, or you can even go back into your advanced search by clicking on Show Filters to open the advanced search screen and see which advanced search filters are applied. Now over to Shani to hear a bit more about browsing newspapers.
So my name's Shani and I'm going to be talking to you today about the difference between browsing and searching newspapers. Some of you may already be familiar with the Newspapers and Gazettes browser. It was previously part of the old newspapers zone. So before I show you how it works, I'll actually show you how to get there. So the first thing you have to do is to start at the Trove homepage. If you're not actually sure if you're on the homepage, try clicking on the Trove logo at the top of the page. As you can see here, my mouse icon has turned into a little hand, which means I can select the Trove logo. So this has taken me to the homepage now. You can see if I try and select the logo again, I can't actually select it, and that means that I'm on the homepage. So on the homepage under the Trove logo, you're going to see words which link to the 5 different landing pages: Explore, Categories, Community, Research, and First Australians. We're going to the Explore page. So on the Explore landing page at the top, you want to look under this Start Exploring menu to see the item called Browse Newspapers and Gazettes. Once we're there, we want to click on the link to open the Newspapers and Gazettes browser. So you might be familiar with this page already, but I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about what you can do here first. So the first thing you can do is you can choose between newspapers and gazettes. The browser automatically selects only newspapers first, but you can change this if you want to browse gazettes. So if you switch over, you get some information about gazettes and a featured article on a gazette page. But I'm showing you newspapers today, so I'm going to head back there. So next, you can select how you want to browse. You'll see down here, you can browse articles by title, by place, by date, and by category. So selecting any one of these options opens up the browser window. So if I know what title I want, and I just want to see what years are available on Trove, the browser is a really good option for doing this. So I'm going to open up the browser by title, and the newspaper I'm looking for is the Daily Herald Adelaide. So if I run my mouse over the Daily Herald, you'll see a little information button. When I hover over that, it says View Title Info. So if I click on that, it takes me to a little bit of information about the newspaper, including the years that Trove has digitised for this paper. It gives you some citation information and also some acknowledgements about who has digitised the paper. If I want to go into the full title information, I just click here This gives me more information about the newspaper, as well as a coverage graph. For example, if I knew that I just wanted to go into the 1921 issues of the Daily Herald, I could click here and it would take me back into the browser. As you can see, it's now opened up the year that I want to browse, and I can use the calendar icon from here to look at different issues. From here, it'll show me pages. Say I know that I want to look at the first page, and that takes me straight into the newspaper's viewer. So that's a good overview of what the browser does. I'm just going to take you all the way back into the Newspapers and Gazettes browser by using the breadcrumbs at the top of the page. And so here you can open up the browser again to browse articles by other categories. The one I haven't covered here is all newspaper and gazette titles. This opens up a separate page that shows you all of the titles that are currently in Trove. This might take a little while to load. As you can see, there are 23 million newspaper pages and 2 million gazette pages. But here we go. So this loads a full list of all of the gazettes and newspaper titles that we currently have in Trove, listed in alphabetical and then in under states. And the green graph you can see here, this is a coverage graph of the years that we hold for digitised pages of these papers. Now, in the same way as using the browser, you can get to the information pages from each of these papers by clicking on their title. So here again, this takes you back to another title page. And again, if you know the year you want to browse, you can select in here and it will open up the browser for you. So again, I'll take you back to that Newspapers and Gazettes homepage by using the breadcrumbs. And the last feature that I wanted to show you in here is the On This Day feature. So this changes daily, as the title suggests, and you will see a new page every day from a random newspaper that we select. And if you'd like to read this article, all you have to do is click on the button on the right-hand side, and it will open that up in the viewer for you. So again, I'll just take you back to the Newspapers and Gazettes browser. So after learning about these features in the browser, you might have noticed that I haven't mentioned something. What if you don't know the title of the newspaper you want? What if you just want to search across all of the newspapers and gazettes before you narrow down a year or a place? That's an excellent question. So there is a search bar at the top of this browser. So if you look at the top left-hand side of the screen for the bar that says Search Newspapers and Gazettes in it. If you're using Trove on a small screen, this may be hard for you to see at first. So you can enter your search words here. I'm going to use the search example, Beanie War. Click on the green button. And this will take you straight into your search results for newspapers and gazettes. So we know that searching is very popular. So we've made it possible for you to start searches from most places in Trove, including the Newspapers and Gazettes browser. But if searching across all newspapers first is your preference, we would recommend starting at the Trove homepage first, because the search option there is much more visible. So this means that you may have to adjust an older bookmark if you've always started searching from the Newspapers and Gazettes browser that I just showed you. So if you have trove.nla.gov.au/newspaper bookmarked as your main page in Trove, it will take you into the browser and not into the newspapers search. So Nikki's already covered basic and advanced search, and Mel's given you some options for combining those two searches. But to sum up the difference between browsing and searching, go to the browser if you want to have a general look around the newspapers. If you want to see what titles we have, what years we've digitised so far, or if you'd like to browse newspaper pages generally instead of looking for specific articles. But if you want to look across all newspapers for certain words and phrases, then you want to narrow down to a title, a year, or a place, you don't have to find this newspaper's browser. Just go straight to the homepage and start your search. You can also search from any of the landing pages too. Finally, before we go to questions, I wanted to show you where you can find information on newspapers coming soon. It's in the news section, which is on most pages of Trove. Under announcements, we have two permanent items, newspapers and gazettes coming soon, and magazines and newsletters coming soon. Both items were first created last year, hence the date on both of those items saying the 19th of September, but both of these items are regularly updated. We're also going to be looking at giving both of these news items a more prominent home in Trove so they can be more easily found in future.
Thank you to all my colleagues who conveyed that presentation for you through the recording that we developed. I noticed that some of you in the chat mentioned the background noise in a couple of the recordings, and just to let you know, part of the reason we did it in this format, pre-recorded like this, is because many of us are still working from home, as I'm sure you are as well. So I appreciate you tolerating that, that aspect. We did get some interesting questions coming through the Q&A chat box, and myself and a couple of my colleagues who are behind me will address some of the issues that you've raised. I know that one of you was asking about whether Trove is a good source for family history for people with UK descent, Scottish, Irish and English descent. And of course, yes, Trove is an excellent resource for family history, as I'm sure many of you online are well aware. And just to remind you that in addition to the newspapers, which I'm sure is a very familiar area for all of you who are family historians, we do have quite rich resources in some of the other areas in Trove. Some of you may have heard of the Australian Joint Copying Project, which was a major undertaking done between the UK and Australia to capture a lot of content that's held within UK sources that relate to people who might have found their way to Australia. It includes shipping lists and lots of other kinds of details about the early days between Australia and the UK. So that's a great resource to have a look at. Of course, there's a rich maps collection as well. And some of you may have noticed that we've combined the newspapers area with the gazettes aspect of Trove, another really rich resource for family historians. So by all means, Trove has many things that would support you in doing that kind of research, and I hope you'll explore all of it, as well as what you may be more familiar with in newspapers. All right, I'm going to hand over to my colleague Kathy to talk to you briefly. We're just socially distancing a little bit, so bear with us while we swap seats.
Well, good afternoon, everyone. I'm delighted to be with all of you from all over Australia. I saw all the messages coming in, and I'm so glad you were able to join us today. We had a question right at the beginning of the webinar around user testing, and I'll answer that for you today. In relation to the new Trove, the updated Trove, we actually have been conducting user testing in various formats since 2017. This included not only the call out, which some of you may have participated in, to actually answer some survey questions or get involved in testing practical designs, but also mock-ups of the site to see what was going to work with you. And that included everything from the names of the categories to the designs to how the search results looked. Later on in the journey, in 2019, we actually then released Trove to the library community to get that feedback. And that's when it was actually under construction. And they gave us a lot of feedback and we made significant changes based on that feedback. But also that revealed some of the problems and bugs, and we made hundreds of changes to fix all that bugs. And that's a traditional process that we follow when we're building systems. We then actually released a public preview of the site in February this year. And again, we got a lot of feedback. We also were working behind the scenes to test how stable Trove would be. And during that process, we actually spent time after that finding approaches to fixing problems or bugs and the testing as well. But despite all these best endeavours, some of the problems that have emerged post-launch could not have been tested in advance. Trove is actually an incredibly complex IT ecosystem with multiple databases now being joined together through APIs and also a Drupal content management system. So some of the things that are known problems we're actually working on, and these include some issues with advanced search, some date range problems, some highlighting problems. Over the last week or two, you've actually seen us fix some of those problems. For example, there were some issues with text correcting, and those have been made fairly swiftly. We're still working on problems with the plus and minus symbol in text correcting. So I hope that goes some way to explaining the journey we've been on with New Trove. All of this is available in the news area of the site as well. But I hope that's a useful description of the journey we've been on. And now I'd like to hand over to Shani, who's going to be taking you through a small demonstration to answer some of those questions that came up. Thank you very much.
Hi everyone, I'm Shani. Some of you may have seen me before in my earlier demos. I'm going to take you through a few different aspects of Trove just in relation to some questions that we've received. So I'm just going to screen share with you. Okay, so here we go. So we should be on the Trove website now. Okay. So the first question that I had asked was, if you are logged in and have read an article, will that article always show up as purple, or will it only be on that particular day? So this isn't actually a question that I need to give you a demo for, but it is a useful thing to know. The way that the purple text works or red articles work is based on your browser session. So if you've opened up Trove and you've searched and you've clicked on a few different search results and they start showing up as purple, if you don't close your browser session that day, then the next time you come into Trove, if you're using that same browser window, they will also still show as purple. So it's if you close that window and then reopen it and log back into Trove, you won't be able to see the purple articles that you've already read. So that is based only on browser sessions. So I hope that helps for that question. The second question I had is about printing articles. So someone just wanted to know if you can print the newspaper articles that you see on Trove. And so for this, I will actually go into the newspapers browser and show you some of the functions in the viewer that you can do with newspapers. So I'm going to do a standard search for my favourite person, Nancy Bird-Walton, because she happened to be in the autofill for search. So I'm going straight into newspapers and gazettes results here. And I'm going to click on one of the articles to bring it up in the viewer. So here we go. So here's the article. You can bring it up in the viewer. I might zoom in a little bit more so you can see it. I know some people have been asking about where the zoom in and zoom out buttons are, and they should be in blue on the left-hand side. So what I'm actually going to take you through is the left-hand side functions in the newspaper viewer. And so there's a few different things you can do here, including printing your article. So I'll take you to print first. So print's right down the bottom of the functions. So you can choose to print the article as an image, or as just text. So I think that depends whether you would like to print just the transcript of the article text or whether you would like the actual newspaper article with the picture. So if you select either of those options, it should open your printer dialog box and you can choose what you'd like to do there. I will take you through some of the other features as well, just while we're here. So the first button is the details button, and that gives you a direct link to the newspaper article if you'd like to come back to it, as well as some citation information. If you're a researcher and you need to cite your sources, this is really good. It'll give you a few different formats here as well. So this button here, the article text, this is where it lands automatically. And if you are logged in here or you would like to correct text, you can start doing so from this window. So it'll show the article transcript and whether it matches. There's also the tags button if you'd like to add a tag so that you can save it for your personal research or let other people know something about the article. You can also do that. Here is lists. You can see this already appears in a list for Nancy Bird Walton. So you could also add it to any other private, public or collaborative lists that you have. Notes are the same. It's just a longer version of a tag. If you'd like to add a note to the article, you can also do that on the left-hand side. Categories shows you the different categories that this article is in. You can see it's only in the category of article. This relates only to newspapers. It's using the word category again, so it might be a little bit confusing for people, but you can add additional categories such as obituary or family notices if it fits the criteria. Then we've got download, a little bit like print. You can choose the format that you would like to download your newspaper article in and do that from here as well. And you can download it in a variety of different sizes. And you can also buy, so this takes you to our Copies Direct service, which is run by the National Library, and it allows you to order a higher res copy of the article. This service usually comes with a fee and is done through the National Library's Copy Direct service, but something you can do if you're after a higher res copy. And then we have print, and then toggle the layout so you can actually hide this layout if you want to. All right, the final question that I've got from our webinar attendees is narrowing down by the date and by the month. So someone has asked, how do you do this? Because the way that they usually search is to add in the date and the month into the search box. Now, you probably will find that this won't work anymore. So I'll show you a couple of other ways to do it. I'm just going to head back home. So say I'm doing my search on Nancy Bird Walton here. The easiest way to refine your results is actually to go into the filters on the right-hand side and go by date range. So if I expand this out and I know that I want to look for articles from 1940 to 1949, I'd click that. And it has to run another query again. This is why it goes to the top of the page. I re-queried Trove search results. So I know that some people have asked why it does that, and that is why, because we're running a whole new query. So then from here, you can actually narrow it down to a year in between 1940 and 1949. So say I know the year is 1947. I can narrow that down. Again, it's run another query. And then from here, I can actually choose the month. So I can have a look at the article results. You know, maybe I've got one in mind already, a month in mind. If I don't, I can just pick one and see how they go. So I can also do that. So, and then to deselect, you can just untick the boxes. I will also show you a really quick other trick that you can do. Say you want to search in a couple of different months, say January, February, and March. You can actually right-click search results and open them up in a new tab. So if I go to a new tab, that will have just the results from January 1947. I can do that with February. I can also do that with March. So that's the easiest way to search a year and a month. We do also have this feature in advanced search, particularly if you're looking for a very specific date range, say a particular day in a month in a year to another particular day. This search isn't working quite as well as we would like at the moment. We've had a lot of information from our users about how the date range in advanced search works. We have lodged a ticket with IT about this. They are figuring out the best fix for it, and it will be in soon. But I would recommend in the meantime that you do a lot of your date range searching in the basic filters on the right-hand side, just in the meantime, while we work out those last little bugs. Okay, so I think that's the 3 questions that I've got to cover in terms of giving demos. So I might hand back over to Aileen now for a little bit more extra information before we sign off.
Thanks, Shani and Kathy, for both of you helping to respond to some of the issues and questions that people have raised with us today. As I mentioned at the outset, we will be going through all of the questions that people have submitted to us, and we are planning to develop an FAQ, if you like, of some of the main issues that people are raising and make sure that that's available to everyone through the Trove website. So I'm just going to remind you about our contact us details. So if you think you've identified something in Trove that's not working quite as expected, you can let us know through this form that you see on the page. The contact us form is also on the Trove website in a number of places, including along the footer. And just be aware that we have received quite a high number of inquiries since Trove was launched, which has been very helpful to us. The issues that people are raising, we are looking at carefully. But just be a bit patient, if you will, to give us some time to get back to you with a response. So they have provided us with some helpful insights into the issues that you're experiencing, that perhaps we should improve our training and help content on the website to help you understand how to do what you've been accustomed to doing in Trove in the new interface. That's also raised a few issues that, as Shani said, we are pursuing with our IT colleagues to see if we can resolve. If you're seeking more research advice, we do have an excellent Ask a Librarian service that would allow you to contact a librarian in the National Library's reference team, and they can provide you with more guidance on how to conduct the research you're hoping to do within Trove. So next week, we are holding another more general webinar about the new features in Trove. Unfortunately, that is now fully subscribed. We have had quite a few people express interest in both of these webinars, which is terrific. But we will be making the recording of this webinar and the recording of the one next week, including the Q&A portions on both. They will both be available on the Trove website. And as I mentioned earlier, we will be also constructing some FAQs to address some of the issues that you've been raising with us. So I hope that you found this session today useful, and that you will continue to use Trove and experience all that it has to offer under the new interface. We look forward to communicating with you in future, and we'll try to ensure that some of the issues that you've addressed, we will respond in one way or another.